They weren't just movies. Not to him. For a boy who couldn't play sports, who battled asthma, whose father rarely spoke, the cinema became more than escape. It was survival, it was conversation. It was love. Martin Scorsese, the man behind Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and The Irishman, didn't just watch movies, he lived through them. And now, in a world where algorithms dictate taste and sequels dominate screens, he wants us to see something different, something sacred. These are the 15 films that Martin Scorsese docenti just recommend. He believes they can change the way we see the world. Are you ready to see cinema through his eyes? Let's begin. For Scorsese, The Searchers was never just a Western, it was a dark reflection of America itself. John Ford's tale of obsession, alienation, and moral ambiguity follows Ethan Edwards, a Civil War veteran, played by John Wayne, on a years-long journey to rescue his kidnapped niece. But Scorsese saw something far deeper in the film as haunting imagery. A man consumed by hatred and purpose, only to find himself alone in the final frame. A ghost fading into the desert wind. The core of the movie is deeply painful, he once said. It haunts and troubles me every time I see it. That final silhouette, Ethan framed in a doorway, turning back into the landscape. That, to Scorsese, is cinema at its most poetic.
It's often called the greatest film of all time. But for Scorsese, Citizen Kane isn't about critical consensus. It's about revolution. He marveled at how Orson Welles shattered linear storytelling, leaping across time and perspective. You could go anywhere, at any time, and it felt natural. He said, deep focus, overlapping dialogue, a structure that mimics memory instead of chronology. Kane wasn't just a story. It was a bold reimagining of how stories could be told. And for Scorsese, that changed everything.
Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line wasn't a war film in the traditional sense. It was a whispered prayer in the middle of chaos. Scorsese saw in it a kind of poetry, a meditative, almost spiritual reflection on humanity's place in the universe. Voiceovers blend with wind, nature, silence, and violence. There's no traditional hero, no clear enemy, just the haunting question. What are we doing here? If Malek had just done a straightforward narrative, Scorsese asked, could he have created this kind of poetry? I don't think so. Ghost stories aren't always about fear. Sometimes they're about longing. Scorsese was deeply moved by Kenji Mizuki, a tale of two potters in 16th century Japan, caught between ambition, love, and war. He called it spiritual, transcendent. Cinema that breathes like a dream. Graceful camera movements, haunting lakeside scenes, and the ephemeral presence of Lady Wakasa made it, in his words, filled with awe and wonder. For Scorsese, Ujutsu was a lesson in fragility, of dreams, of desire, of life itself. Not all great cinema is high art. Sometimes it's gothic, bloody, even fun. Scorsese had a deep affection for Hammer horror, and horror of Dracula stood above them all. The moment Dracula descends the staircase and calmly says, "Hello, I'm Dracula," that burned into Scorsese's mind. Christopher Lee's presence, the bold technicolor, the elegant, unsettling mood. It wasn't just horror, it was operatic. It had flair, it meant something. Scorsese doesn't just honor the past. He champions the bold new voices of the present. And among them, Ari Aster stands tall. He admired Hereditary, but it was Midsommar that captivated him. A film bathed in sunlight, but shrouded in psychological darkness. The slow burn, the raw emotional collapse, the meticulous direction. For Scorsese, Midsommar wasn't just horror. It was controlled chaos, emotional truth, and exquisite pain. He even wrote the introduction for its screenplay, calling Astor's control extraordinary. Scorsese has always praised Spike Lee. From Malcolm X to his return with BlacKkKlansman, the picture takes you to a safe place. A movie screen, Scorsese said, and then suddenly catapults you into now. The final 10 minutes left him breathless. It transcends cinema. It's beautiful. Federico Fellini's surreal masterwork, 8.5, is more than a film. For Scorsese, it's a mirror. Every year, he returns to it. A filmmaker in creative paralysis, lost in memory and fantasy, trying to find his next vision. It is chaos and calm, ego and vulnerability, the freedom, the invention, the longing, Scorsese once said. It's all there. What he saw in Fellini's swirling dream was not just filmmaking. It was the state of being an artist, drowning in pressure, trying to hear your own voice through the noise. Wes Anderson's debut may seem simple, a quirky heist film about two friends, but Scorsese saw its soul. He praised its emotional subtlety, its quiet charm. He knows how to convey the simple joys of human interaction, Scorsese said. There were no stakes, no explosions, just friendship, awkwardness, and warmth. And that, to him, was rare, precious. Visconti, S. the Leopard, ISNT, just a historical. Epicit, S. a film about time. Burt Lancaster, as a fading Sicilian nobleman, watches his world vanish in slow motion. Scorsese said, time is the protagonist here. The endless ballroom scene, the aching slowness, the dignity of decline. It wasn't just about aristocracy, it was about watching something slip away with grace. Scorsese watches The Red Shoes every year. He's watched it since he was a child, and it still moves him. It's a ballet, it's a tragedy, it's obsession made flesh. The colors, the music, the editing, the heartbreak. There's no other film that visualizes the overwhelming obsession of art quite like this, Scorsese once said. And for him, The Red Shoes wasn't just a movie, it was belief in art, in transcendence. Marlon Brando only directed one film, and Scorsese defends it fiercely. A cross between the old and new Hollywood. He called it visually stunning, emotionally raw, flawed, ambitious. Brando's performance, the betrayal, the slow vengeance, all of it lived between the fading myths of westerns and the new psychological depth of modern cinema. Horror doesn't need blood, it needs doubt. The innocence terrified Scorsese, not with jump scares, but with ambiguity. Was the governess mad? Or were the children truly possessed? Shot in rich black and white, every frame drips with dread. It's not what's said, Scorsese's noted, it's what's unsaid that haunts. There is no plot, only life. Jean Renoir's The River unfolds slowly, gently. A girl grows up, she falls in love, she learns about death. That's it. But to Scorsese, this film is a meditation. It's about the rhythm of existence, the flow of time, the beauty in simply being. This might surprise you. Scorsese admits The Exorcist terrified him, but it's the maligned sequel, The Heretic, that he truly admires. Why? Because it dared. It failed, maybe, but it tried to be more, to be philosophical, to explore the duality of good and evil, faith, consciousness, the soul, and that, to Scorsese, is what matters. Films that take risks, even if they fall.